Hi, Elaine Marolakos Edelson. Whoopsie. With Astrology Mojo. Mojo. Want to help you get your mojo back. You are a modern mystic, right? Aren't you? Of course you are. You're a mojo mystic. Typically, I'm here on Thursdays, but we had a new roof put on, so now I'm here today, Friday. So I hope you can make it. We're going to be talking about some fun things, especially Jupiter, that is going direct on September 12th to 2020, and what that looks like and what it typically means and portends in astrology. So come join me, say hello. So, if you're not familiar with me and you're not familiar with what I say, the planets in astrology don't make you do anything. That we live in a cooperation with the cosmos, so that when the planets make a move, you feel it. When you make a move, it's reflected by way of aspects and angles in astrology. So you get to literally plan it out and not assume that your life is a crapshoot. But the planets are not conscious of their movements, so they don't control you. But we do have a relationship to everything that is, whether we see it or not. And that relationship in astrology is how you choose to act out your karma, which is not good or bad. It's just a harmonizing of energy. How you choose to move into your wealth, health, passion, and purpose in your life, and what struggles come up along the way and why. And so we'll look at a chart and say, it isn't the thing that I'm seeing in the chart that says, oh, this is why you're that way. No, you're that way because of you. But I get to see it written in a language in your chart. That's how that works. So come say hello. Hey, Rakara's here. Yay, hooray. Nice to see you. And I'm very excited. This is such a momentous time, right? And first of all, today, September 11th, I remember where I was. Now, if you were someone not born at that time, or just a wee baby, you may not remember the impact, the global, compassionate outpouring of ordinary people doing extraordinary things from a place of compassion and humanitarianism. I remember that. And so now, as we move forward and we look at what is really our truthful direction. This has been a very wacky 6-8 months, right? 9 months for some. And it's like, you break open a bag of flour and you drop it on the floor and the dust pops up and everything settles eventually. You're coughing, you can't see, you've got to clean up, you've got to rearrange, you've got to think about, how do I get something done? Now I've changed. We hope that you've changed. And you've recognized some things that no longer need to be part of your life. And then you start to value things that are important, even more so. And not to be thrown by fear. That's ultimately the biggest message, that I'd like you to understand, that the fear comes from comes from a place of disempowerment, where you feel like you're not in control and you don't know what's going to happen. Whether it's losing your job to suddenly discovering an illness, or having to be far away from people you love and not being able to see them or travel. So whatever's happened in the past 9 months, I want to talk about that a little bit more with the advent of planetary aspects moving. And Jupiter is the planet that represents expansion, travel, and science, philosophy, religion, spirituality, the truth, your truth, nothing but the truth. So help you. And it also represents language and what you understand about your own conscious and unconscious language. When a planet is retrograde from the point of view of Earth, what we're looking at is how it represents the part of you that needs to go within. And we've had so many retrogrades, okay? And last week there were 7 all at once. Now, tomorrow, and by the end of this month, Jupiter goes direct on September 12th. And then the 28th, Saturn goes direct. So we'll have 5 retrograde planets because then Mercury is going retrograde in October. So, all the retrograde planets represent going inward, finding your truth, finding what's real, what's not, where you've been kind of skimming off the top, or, like, oh, they're handing out, well, I'm going to go get in line, even though you don't need the thing that they're handing out. And, someone else could benefit by it. There's a whole evolution of consciousness that's happening on this planet. And I've been talking about it if you've been listening. If not, please come join me. I'm typically here on Mondays and Thursdays to give you the best of what I understand to be the transition and what the transformation and what's happening. Looking at it planetarily, yes, but also looking at it intuitively and consciously. So we are moving out of 3D reality. Third dimension reality is the victim perpetrator. So before something can actually be healed or cleaned up, it all comes up. It all comes up to the surface, and that includes your own behavior. So you might say, well, I'm a really honest person, and I like to help out wherever possible, and great. If something arises or has arisen in the past 9 months where you are faced with, not that you've done anything wrong, but your specific type of patterning or behavior gets you the same old stuff and it doesn't change, that's where you have to be really honest and say, okay, what is it about my behavior? Conscious, yeah, but unconscious. That's where we're going with all the retrograde planets. What is it about my behavior that elicits this behavior in them or in that? Or what is it about this situation that I see it repeating again? I don't understand. So when you get to that point, it's not just shrugging it off and saying, well, that's who they are, or that's what it is. It's really looking at yourself with a new lens of inner truth. And that's the whole point of being on this earth, is to really be as present as possible in as many moments as possible, in as many honest moments as possible, and say, oh, yeah, that was me. I overstepped a boundary, or I plowed through when my body needed something different and I wasn't paying attention. Or I heard the call in my head, body, mind connection, and I ignored it because I had another agenda. So that's the kind of thing we're looking at now when the planet goes from direct to retrograde, which Mars just did on September 9th. We see there's like a disruption in energy. It can be anything depending on who you are, but there's a sensation of something just happened. I don't understand, or I don't feel good, or I'm just so tired. I didn't even do anything and I'm so tired, or I'm so wired, and then you become addicted to that motion or that inaction. And being honest with yourself is not giving excuses, although explaining the behavior is not an excuse. I am this way today because my biorhythms are off, or, I've got Mars retrograde in my 6th house. Okay, whatever it looks like in definition form, what it is to you is, I've pushed myself so hard, I just don't feel like doing it. That's okay. You don't have to give like a laundry list of reasons why. You don't have to do that. The honesty comes with the moment of, yeah, I can't today. Or today's the day. Yeah, today's the day I begin or continue. And there's no explanation necessary for yourself or for someone else, right? Let me just check in, say hello. Hi, Sasha. Alyssa is here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Truman Show. Sasha says, my Jupiter is in Gemini and Saturn in Sag. I have to go within like now. Don't we all, though? Let's go in. Come on, join me. Won't you be my neighbor? It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood. Okay. Yeah, it is. It can be. And it's about looking at, okay, with regard to Jupiter, when a planet, if you're new to astrology or you're very familiar with astrology, then you'll learn or you'll understand that when a planet goes into a retrograde phase, and it has the appearance of, the apparent motion is what it's called, moving backwards, it will at times conjunct other planets. Now, and when that happens, especially in a retrograde phase, typically, not always, but typically, an outer planet, when it does that, will see some massive changes within a person, and i.e. the results are massive changes in the global perspective. And so a planet, in specifics, Jupiter, will connect with another planet 3 times, and I call it knocking on the door. So it's like the first knock is, hello, there's an issue. That's, hello, there's an issue. That's the first time when a planet goes retrograde and conjuncts with another planet. And usually the outer planets have deeper, more profound meanings, not just for you, but on the earth plane, everything. Systems. When we look at Saturn, here, let me just show this screenshot. Okay, I'll get out of the way. The sun's in Virgo right now, but we've seen, tomorrow, Jupiter, direct. The little red X means retrograde. It's going to be gone. Saturn's been in retrograde, and Pluto's been in retrograde. There's Neptune as well in retrograde. Mars is now in retrograde. Uranus is retrograde, la, 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 la. Let's go inside, find our power. So when Jupiter was retrograde and conjunct, forward and retrograde motion, direct and retrograde motion with Pluto. Pluto represents your TNT for the psyche, core inner power, your ultimate fear, the shore of your unconsciousness. And with Jupiter looking for truth, always looking for truth, searching for the truth, and being practical about it sometimes, being cynical about it sometimes. Again, it's not the planet doing it itself or doing it to you, but this is the definition that we're looking at, no matter what your sign, rising sign or moon sign is. So when a planet knocks 3 times on the door of another planet, it's powerful. It's powerful. So let's say March and April of 2020, Jupiter and Pluto were in a conjunction phase in that time frame. It knocked on the door. What came about for you? Where did you suddenly search for something isn't right, that I feel like I've been taken advantage of. I feel like I've lost my power. I feel like I have to do something. That's March and April of 2020. I know what I had to do. What did you have to do? And then again, the second knock came June and July of 2020. Jupiter and Pluto. And the second knock was, the first knock is, hello, there's an issue. The second knock is, hello, there's still an issue, but I like where you're going. Let's go a little further. Let's really push those buttons. And with the planetary energies involved, we're looking at, what's your biggest fear? What if you fail? What if you get sick? What if you die? What if someone in your family leaves you? What if you lose your job? Like the big fears have been coming out. Hello, let's go a little deeper. Now, the third conjunction is usually the third conjunction, and then the separation of planets represents, okay, wow, that was a ride. Life, the ride. And it happens in November. And we're almost there. So I want you to take stock of all the things where you had to, March, April, June, July, face the shadow, face the part of yourself that has felt disempowered, or where you discovered you weren't being truthful, and not on a malicious, level. It can just be someone said, hey, you want to get together? And you're thinking, I really don't need to know this person, but sure, okay, yeah, that's not being honest. Or the stimulus packages that were, beginning in this pandemic year. And some people just, it was like, I got to apply right away, even if they had tons of money in the bank. My husband and I took a stance of, we don't need it. Someone else could use it. That's just where we went with it. But other people need it, and rightfully so. Then there's I'm just gonna, I'm leaving work, they fired me, I'm gonna empty out my desk and I'm taking all those Post-it notes with me. Screw them. There's, 40 Post-it note packages and 30 pens. They're mine. Okay. I'm citing minor things but lead to, why are you taking something that is not yours? So there's honesty, dishonesty on that level. And then there's just being honest with yourself about, I've been in this job for 1,000,000 years and, it's just a paycheck. What else am I going to do? Let's be honest. There's so much more. You came here to do something, not just have a job. Right? So when we talk about honesty, it's really in the moment being aware of what's happening and what you're facing and where it's pushing you. Because the retrograde planets, again, they're not doing it to you, but what's happening collectively, globally, the outer planets, Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, outer planets, in retrograde ask you, not really, but it's the timing of it, to look within and say, what's really going on here? What do I need? How would I like to proceed? Where can I find my truth? How can I take back my power? Why do I feel disabled every time so I spoke with a client the other day. She was furious because of what a relative had done. And I said, this is an ongoing issue, is it not? Yeah, but I thought, we reached a place of understanding. I thought it was okay. And suddenly, she was triggered. So wherever you're triggered, that's where you feel the fear, the disempowerment. And she certainly did feel disempowered. And she asked my advice on how to proceed. And so when you face that moment where you think you're getting a promotion and you get a pink slip instead, you're like, what? I gave my life blood to this company. How dare, or I don't know where I'm going. I want you to think back. Every 12 years-ish, Jupiter enters the same sign because of how it rotates in the universe. And so it's the cycle of Jupiter is a 12-year cycle. It approximately stays in one sign for about a year and goes into retrograde motion, then goes forward in direct, and then it moves on to the next sign. But 12 years ago, approximately within a year, Jupiter and Pluto kind of did the square dance. So how'd you feel then? Because issues will always come back unless you deal with them and then move on to the next level of consciousness. So we're moving out of 3D. I'm not a victim and I'm not a perpetrator. That's about being honest. Oh, I just got in front of someone in line, And I'm always aware of that. When two people are rushing to the door and I'm one of them, I stop and I open the door for the other person because I don't have the need to be the first in line at the post office, even if I'm running late. It's always the courtesy of, what's my action and why? I'm being very deliberate. Why? If someone turns to me and says, oh my gosh, I'm so late, I have to pick up my kid from school, I go, totally, go. It's all good, right? It's kind of stuff I want you to think about. Where can you take back your power? So again, if you're just joining us, we're talking about Jupiter going direct, and the planets don't make anything happen to you. It's just a cycle of timing, your timing. And even with signs, if everyone is, every Libran is looking at, well, what's Jupiter and Capricorn doing for me? It's not doing anything for you. It's showing you where you are internally. Not every Libran is going to be in the same place. The themes might be similar, but how you independently work with those themes based on your own personal karma, not good or bad, just a harmonizing of energy. Let me just check in. Then it's up to you, right? So Jupiter is in Libra, and Alyssa says Saturn Libra too. So wherever your Jupiter is right now in your chart, you've got Jupiter in Capricorn showing up in your chart. And so wherever Capricorn is in your chart, that's where the most activity for your growth is occurring. So if you have Capricorn in the 11th house, like in this chart, if you're a Pisces rising, this is just a general chart, but if you had Pisces rising, then Capricorn would be in your 11th house. Maybe Capricorn's in your 3rd house. Maybe it's in your 8th house. So wherever Capricorn is, the topics of that house become more prevalent because it's your growth cycle and learning to move through that energy where you are feeling disempowered on any level, and how you can face the shadow, because Pluto represents the shadow, and how you can take back that power. So where are you going with your information? Like, what's happening? Where is it all taking you? Well, where would you like it to take you? And you know the moment you say or do or don't say or don't do something, and you get a feeling, even if it's for just a split second, and you get that feeling like, that was me. That's on me. That's the moment I'm talking about. When you overstep a boundary, when you allow someone else to overstep a boundary and you don't say something. I'm not talking about, getting belligerent and, it's my right to blah, no. I'm talking about being as present as possible in as many moments as possible so that you can face the shadow issue. Sometimes the shadow is not, it's not evil. Please. Okay. It's just not in the light. It's like a little kid who really loves Oreo cookies and has a healthy dinner, knowing that mom and dad said, as long as you eat your healthy dinner, you can have an Oreo cookie or two. And then they do, and they're so proud. And I've eaten my green beans and my whatever, and now can I have a cookie? And they get 2. And then when nobody's looking, they sneak back into the pantry and take 2 more. That is the behavior. It's like a child in you is saying, I'm going to have a temper tantrum because I want something and I'm not getting it. So instead of blaming other people for the situation that you're in, instead of shrugging it off and saying, well, why is it going to happen anyway? I'm not anybody special. We're looking at just owning that moment of, that's the truth, that moment right there. And when you do that, what opens up then the path for what Jupiter represents is expansion. And depending on where it is, not in your birth chart, but in your transit chart. So it's transiting. It's in Capricorn now. So wherever Capricorn is in your chart, that's the topic. That's where you start to move forward, even though we have got so many other planets retrograde. And by the way, I just want to go back. I want to backtrack. Retrograde. I want to backtrack. When Mars is retrograde at all, not just in Aries, but Mars is retrograde now through November 13th, and it'll be in Aries through January 2021. But when it's retrograde, it doesn't mean just sit down and go, okay, I don't have to act anymore. I could just take a vacation. That's not what it means, because some people sent me some emails and it was a little confusing for them. So I'm just going to go over that quickly, very quickly, that it means to find out where you can find a different way to express yourself. And it does not mean violence. It does not mean arguments. It means if somebody suddenly snaps at you and you would typically get defensive and bounce right back, that's when you stop and say, okay, they just had a reaction. A reaction is defensive. Response is conscious. So be the adult in the room. If you're going to protest on anything, do it peacefully. If you're going to take action because of all that, and I'm sending out so many medicine Buddhas lately, chanting for all the fires in the world right now, do it responsibly. Take action in a way that does not cause harm, but you still stand up for yourself, your rights, your power. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, good. So if you're just joining us, we're talking about Jupiter and going direct on September 12th. And as it does, it'll finish out its ride in Capricorn and show where you are about to expand and get that dream come true. If you've been paying attention, I'm just going to backtrack for just a second. Now, when a planet goes into retrograde and it makes a conjunction or an angle, it could be an aspect like a trine or a square. Square is a little bit of temporary discomfort and conflict to show you how to grow, how to change, how to move. A trine is a blessing, 120 degrees or within 8 degrees either side, and it shows you the open doors. A conjunction, it just represents intensifying the energies within. So when Jupiter and Pluto came together, moved apart, came together, moved apart, I call it knocking on the door. Okay, just to backtrack and say March and April of 2020, Jupiter and Pluto came together. And so it's like saying, you've got an issue. There's an issue. You're not standing up for yourself. You're hiding in the shadows, or you're letting them do something where you could set a boundary. And then you have time to work on that. And then the second knock is, okay, wow, that was great. Let's keep going. That was June, July of 2020. Now November coming up in 2020 is the final conjunction between Jupiter and Pluto. And during that time frame, it's, all right, now you're going to start to see the results of having done the work since March. And so even though it looks chaotic in the world, and it may be, what do I believe spiritually? What do I believe intellectually? How do I feel? Where do I want to go? What kind of money do I want to make? What kind of relationship do I want to have with that person or that individual or that system or that group? We're going to talk next about Saturn going direct on the 28th and what that looks like. That's all about systems and the architecture of your world and really dealing with the karmic information. Karma, not good or bad. It's just something I'll deal with it later. That's all. That's all karma is. I'll deal with it later. I know I did something or something was done, and this was my reaction, response, or situation. I'll get to it. Remember, astrology just tells you what time it is. So, it's coming up on time to move forward with the dream that you had. And with Jupiter going direct now, what we're looking at is having done a lot of cleanup. You went in and cleaned up the muck, the mire, and I'm not calling you dishonest. I'm just saying the moment where you didn't acknowledge the truth, your truth. Now you're going to acknowledge it and say, yep, that one's on me. I didn't set a boundary and this is what happened. Or I knew what was going to happen. I just let it ride because I was so busy elsewhere. Okay, there's no fault, no foul. Well, we just want to be as honest as possible. Does that make sense? And moving forward, then the door starts to open to the issues that you've been looking at wherever Capricorn is in your chart, in your natal chart. Now, it's different if you were born. If you don't, oh, by the way, let me see if I have this. Wait. Hang on, I got to get the link for it. If you're just joining us, we're talking about Jupiter going direct. And I'm looking for, nope, not finding it. Hey, Dean, if you're listening, can you post a link to the Astrology Life profile? Okay, you can also go to my website, astrologymojo.com, and scroll down to the bottom and you'll see how to get your free chart. And then from there, you'll be taken to a page where you can go right to your life profile. And the life profile is pretty cool because, you know, when we're looking at who we are in the world, astrology can give you a lot of definitions based on the type of astrology that you're looking at. Is it Western? Is it Vedic? Is it sidereal? Is it tropical? They all have different systems. But what I did was I spent over a year combining the best of information for each of the planetary definitions and then the angles and aspects between those planets to give you the best information possible short of having an actual reading with me. So it's exciting sometimes when people who've said to me, you know, oh, I got the life profile report and wow, tons of info. I'm blown away. No wonder this happens. Because I'm not even aware of it. No wonder. It's not the planet again, right? It's not the planet's doing it to you. But no wonder. That explains so much about who I am. And that's why I called it a life profile, really, not just an astro report. And it's pretty comprehensive because the information can take you to that place of, oh, I get it. So, and you're not locked into a definition. It's just a basic understanding, and from there, then you utilize the power that you know you have. And what I've written about, you know, everyone's an individual. So even a combination of, you know, Libra Sun, Scorpio Rising, Taurus Moon is going to be different based on your personal experience and what the life profile report shows you. So I think it's really exciting to be able to look at, and I've bought in the past many reports, numerology reports for myself, astrology reports, and again, it's based on the definitions of the person who puts it together, right? So I was watching, and I don't remember her name. I just caught a YouTube thing, a little blurb of an astrologer in Australia or New Zealand, and she was talking about political tides in her country and about Pluto and people taking back their power and, you know, things like that. And then she said, you know, some people comment and say that I'm so negative. Well, I'm not negative. I'm just being truthful. And I just thought that was such a Pluto thing to say and a Capricorn thing to say. She must have Capricorn in her chart. And it just made me laugh. And so, but her definitions in some respects were very similar to mine, but very different as well. So whoever you're speaking to, you want to make sure that you feel empowered. And that was my whole point of writing, taking a year to assemble information and data for the life profile reports, and to help you understand that there's many different definitions and that you need to apply them to you, and how your sun sign, your rising sign, where your Jupiter is, where your Venus is, where your Mars is, where your Pluto is, what the combinations are, how it makes up the very unique definition of who you are in your ever-growing state of awareness. And that's what the astrological life profile is. And I'm excited about it. So I don't know, Dean, are you listening? Because I'll have to post a link to it. Okay, so Alyssa says, what is the natal chart? The natal chart is your personal birth chart at the time of your birth. When they cut the cord, that's actually the birth time. If you took a snapshot of the universe, the exact moment that you were born, that, and then put it into a chart, that's what your world looks like. Your potentials, your hidden talents, and it's specific to you. And that is, oh, and if you say you have no Capricorn planets, somewhere on the wheel you will have Capricorn. And so you have Capricorn in your chart. You may not have planets in Capricorn, but every house in astrology is guided by a different planet. So does that answer your question? What time does Jupiter go direct? Well, Jupiter goes direct Mountain Standard Time at 5:42 p.m. at 39 seconds. So you just have to translate that into whatever time zone you're living in. And it's not so much the exact moment it goes direct. It is, we're in the direct energy now because it's now rotating at a different speed. So we're in it. So things never stop or start on a dime in astrology, ever, because energy doesn't stop or start on a dime. It doesn't stop moving. It just, there's streams of energy that move in different directions and at different speeds. That's all. Everything is in constant motion. So we're already in the phase of Jupiter going direct. Does that make sense too? I hope so. So remember, folks, if you're just joining me and you're new to me, the planets don't make you do anything. They don't. They are not conscious of their actions. They do not direct your fate. Fate and free will are in your body, mind, spirit alone. And so you make decisions. You make choices. That's what you have power over. Who you are and what you choose to do with who you are. That's what it is. Does that make sense? So I'm going to have to post where you can get your astrological life profile because I don't have the link with me. I came unprepared. Forgive me. I am going to pull a card for the collective today on Jupiter going direct. And this is from the Universal Law of Conscious Creation deck by Lana Solara, Dana DuPoint, and Marion, or is it? It's Marlene Chapman. And they're very pretty fractal images cards, and they don't have a reverse to them really, but because they're not tarot cards. Let me just say hello. Hey, Casey's here. La la la. Hi, Lila. You're welcome. Remember, folks, I am here Mondays and Thursdays, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. And you can also check me out on YouTube, where you can subscribe and click the little bell. And if you're here on Facebook watching me, please share, spread the love, and comment and send little like or heart buttons, because the logarithms in Facebook and in YouTube like to see participation, because when they do, that tells them, the AI, that, oh, this is something of interest to people. Let's post more. Let's make the visibility higher and easier for people. So thank you so much. All right, this is for Jupiter going direct for the collective right now. And we're going to look at wherever Jupiter is transiting in your chart, You may have been born with Jupiter in one place, which you were, but now it's transiting in the sign of Capricorn. And if you were born with Jupiter in Capricorn, you are having a Jupiter return. Ooh, expansion is yours. Where are you going to go with that? I don't know. That's up to you. Okay, this is for the collective. Oh, flipped out. Thank you very much. Oh, I like this. I like this one a lot. Visualization. And plus, it's the number 330. So 3 is communication. And Jupiter represents, where I would say Pisces is the ideal visual, the ideal vision of what you'd want to create. Jupiter is the actual implementation, and to utilize the power of your thought and mind to keep the vision alive. And the 3 in numerology represents communication. So where in your world would you like to communicate? You're going to start with the inner communication, right? Yes, you are. Where would you like to communicate, and what would you like to communicate about your vision, about seeing something come into fruition? Because it's not just unicorn magical thinking. It is, I have a thought. I want to create something. And so I focus on the thing with the creation of my mind and my body and my spirit connection, but then I take action. The spirit is the inspiration. The mind maps out the plan, and the body enacts. So where can you keep that visual alive? Even if it's not happening right away, let's have patience. Even if it's not happening right away, where can you devote an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours a day to creating that visual accomplishment where you can actually actualize the thing that you want to manifest? Where can you do that? So again, 3, it's a pretty fractal image. 3 is about communication. Now, sometimes we get stuck in a loop and your brain says, oh yeah, they're not hiring, so I'm not even going to bother calling. Well, how do you know? There's a limitation. We're going to talk about Saturn. Saturn is all about limitations. We're going to talk about that next time around, which will be on Monday. And so start working with your inner communication when you think something cannot happen, or when you think, yeah, I'm going to go do that. Okay, well, if you have wings, maybe you could fly off the building. But if you don't have wings, how else can you do it? So it's not about, clipping your wings and saying, yeah, you can't. It's about discovering a new way of communication. And communication is not opening your mouth and talking. That comes last. What comes first is, do you know what you're thinking? Do you know how it affects your chemistry and your biology? Because environment is proven to affect your whole way of thinking, your whole stance. If I lived in a place that were 90 degrees and humid all the time, I'd be depressed. That's why I moved from the East Coast to avoid the summers. So, your environment is key. It's one of the physical components of you manifesting. But inner communication is really acknowledging, yeah, I don't care for that industry, temperature, food, whatever it is, and being honest about it without judgment. Jupiter on the downside represents judgment. On the upside, it's evaluation for the purpose of expansion. Okay, does that make sense? I hope so. All right, I hope this has helped you, and I am. Please like the Facebook page, Astrology Mojo, Facebook, and I'm going to post a link to where you can get your free birth chart. You must have your birth time and all that info, and 1 email per chart, and then it will take you to a page where you can then purchase your astrological life profile report, and yeah. So thank you for being here. I'll be back on Monday. Thank you for being present, and be sparkly. As always, I wish you peace. I'll see you on Monday.